Hello, 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 hello. Checking in with chapters 12 to 15 of Quixote, basically finishing up part 2 of the novel, where we can divide things into Quixote and Sancho, into brother with his son, Marcel Duchamp, and finally a little bit on sister, brother's sister. Yes, I mean, boy, much has happened. Um, Quixote and Sancho pull into a town and have a bizarre, surrealist experience where apparently part of the population are turning into mastodons, and it seems to be some sort of little representation of people going fucking insane in America. Um, you know, basically becoming losing faith in science. I mean, I have to put this as it's like, okay, grandpa and uncle suddenly became Trump supporters and or heavy into QAnon. That's what the feel is it of these people turning into mastodons and trumpeting like flugelhorns, though there seems to be some debate over. I don't think that's what a flugelhorn sounds like. um, and it is a bizarre thing where they load up something with like a dart, which will either cure them or it will kill them. And the people are just like, it'll probably kill them. So just like shoot the poison darts at them. It's like, no, it's not poison darts. But so there's that. Um, and at the very end of it, it's like, and then suddenly they've skipped back in time and they're pulling into just another regular town that doesn't have mastodons in it. So it's just a whole thing. It was whole thing. Um, and then they do check in somewhere, and he sends Sancho out on the street with some money so he can kind of commune with the television set to kind of gird himself for going into the city. Sancho sees these businessmen, and they have little dog collars around their necks with like broken leashes. And he's like, oh, that's what the white woman who had the racist harangue about us. She also had that around her neck, and it didn't seem like a part of her ensemble. And they start going, you're staring at us. No, I'm not staring. It's like, yes, you are. You people always stare at us. You you don't know any manners. And it's like, fuck, they are completely racist too, and they beat the shit out of them as well. Um, which broken leashes. They are off the leashes. It's like all this simmering racism had been leashed for the longest time, and now that they've broken off the leashes and are attacking, and they are attack dogs that are attacking anything that is they view as other. So there's that. Um, we get we go to brother and his thing, and him thinking about all the kind of the different links in the thing. And one of the links in the thing is that he and his ex-wife had a son who suddenly went missing with his computer and laptop, and money and cell phone and all that. And the police finally came to him and said, like, yeah, we found him. He is perfectly well. He doesn't want to be found. He's an adult. um, he's not on drugs. He's not in some cult or anything like that. And we'll leave it there. And after they kind of did their requisite amount of hysteria, at least what he felt like brothers was the requisite amount of hysteria, he thanked the cop nicely and walked out of the room. And that was the end of that. And now he's thinking, shit, you know, there's dealing with my son and there's dealing with my sister and what I did to my sister. Um, these are the two things that I need to kind of get with. He's thinking about as he wanders back into his apartment, where there is a Japanese American guy sitting in his chair with a Glock in his lap. And it's like, what the fuck? And it turns out it's somebody who's governmental. And like, judging by your books, you should know exactly who I am, which is the eyes, the CIAs, the CSs, the all the kind of the covert people that he writes about. And it turns out that his son has has gained a new identity himself. Is using a Don Quixote mask from the Man La Mancha musical to record videos, YouTube videos anonymously, and kind of threaten the government as a part of Legion. Another thing, kind of offshoots of what was Anonymous, which apparently Anonymous is no longer much of the thing anymore. And we've gotten him, and he's going to either work for us, and he'll have a government pension. He'll be working for the good guys, or yeah, he's going to go to jail, Guantanamo. And the guy kind of roars out this last thing. It's like he's all very kind of like, yes, sir, that's what we're going to do, sir. Or else I'll rip his fucking heart out. Kind of like, the rage monster that is underneath all this. And it's like, yeah, brother's like, oh, shit, this is one of the most terrifying people I've had the unpleasure to be in a room with, and they have my son. And so why do they come to him? So they want to use him to get the son into the thing. They take him. He talks to the son a couple of days. By the end, he is doing it. They seem to have kind of had a reconciliation. And then he gets the hood put back on him. Brother does, and is driven away because, yeah. And it's like we won't see each other for a while, but feel like we're good with each other. And there's that. And then we click to Sister in London, which is where he was actually half planning on going before all this started. And Sister in London, she wasn't Speaker of the House yet. It was going to be a campaign, all-party campaign, except a kind of a British African named restaurant beside them decided to turn itself into a nightclub, blast music at all hours. And finally, after kind of going through a whole bunch of stuff, she's like, okay, I got to sue them to actually get them to honor their lease. They're supposed to be a restaurant, not a nightclub. At which point she gets accused of racism, and all her lifetime of anti-racism is completely forgotten in the kind of the instantaneous mob thing that is the internet and everything else. And suddenly the all-party group that was around her to become Speaker of the House is like, you're embarrassing us. We don't want anything to do with you. She withdraws her nomination. She takes the restaurant to court. And all the the patrons of this place were just rich white kids, anyways. But and yes, in court, they're found guilty of having violated the terms of their lease. They're not supposed to be a nightclub, and they are told to issue an apology for, basically charging her with racism. Does that, but and it's like that's it. They won in the law court, and it fucked her that way. But she's like, I don't maybe particularly need this anyways. I've got other things to think about. And one of those other things to think about is that she had early, like 25 years ago, had cancer, double mastectomy, taken out kind of a wall of her chest, an armpit. Figured like, well, that's it. I'm just, I'm a survivor, but that's all I'm going to be. No one's going to ever want to love me. Never going to, have anything. And which is when she met her husband, the guy who's going to become her husband, who loves her. The next miracle was they actually had a child. But it's always been that kind of like, it's like, oh, you're completely cured, but it's like always like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? At the same time, her daughter, who is kind of, doing well, but she's broken up from her business partner, and is looking for some, needs someone to help her with the business side of things at sea. Goes over to mother's and says like, okay, I'm going to do something good for my mom. And she starts the chess game with brother. And it does start. And she comes down and her mother says like, I have something that I need to tell you. It's like, oh, I want to confess. And she confesses that she started the game. It's like, well, that's so awesome. And she's crying. It's like, I'm not crying just about that, but she holds up the paper and it's like, yeah, tests have come back and the cancer's come back. So all that is happening. She goes upstairs, gets on the computer, does a bit of the chess with the brother. And this is like, brother's like, my head's hurting. How about we just start with hello? And that's where we end this section of the book, with hello. So kind of very spy-wise with brother, the thing, very surrealist thing with Qchtt and Sancho, which, I mean, Sancho is already, imaginary, but the mastodons, people turning into mastodons is just crazy. We had like a Eastern European guy, so as they check in, it's like, you go by the barricades? It's like, what barricades? And it's like, can I look at your ears? Why do you want to look at my ears? Like, that's rather thing. Can I look at your teeth? Are they getting larger? It's like, it's because it's the whole mastodon thing, and those are the things. And apparently the barricades they'd been told they'd been isolated, but somehow they got through. So they're not quarantined like they thought they were being. It's like, it's probably because it's all over the world, all over the country by now, and maybe all over the world of people turning into fucking mastodons. Um, yeah, yeah. And then, all the brother stuff, like, it's the interchange, like, keep writing a character that conjures up a son, whereas he's lost a son. Um, Qchott's stuff with his sister versus him with his sister. You know, it's him working through stuff, but it's not an exact model. It's not, and like, Salma R is no one in particular. So yeah, it's just all interesting stuff. Rushdie uh, is a vibrant writer, chaotic, surrealistic, messy, elegant, encyclopedic, encyclopedic, has an encyclopedia. Um, oh God, the word's gone on me, but you know what I mean. He's got a lot of shit inside his head, and he's able to weave it out into a really amazing tale that really kind of conjures up the world. Sometimes sillier than others, which is fine. God, some silliness in the world is good. Sardonic, um, not as sardonic is kind of can carry a lot of bitterness, which is good, but also a lot of wow, what the fuck with the world? What the fuck with the world kind of stuff. So I'm enjoying it. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.